Shabbat Shalom and Chag Sameach. Good morning. I am Rabbi Jenny Greenspan for Congregation of Beth-El Zedek for our weekly Shabbat morning Torah Talk. I am a little bit earlier than usual since we do have a Tat Shabbat at 9:30 today, but I'm hoping at least some will be able to join me right now, and of course everyone will have the opportunity to watch again later on. Let's say Shabbat Shalom, good morning. Today is the seventh day of Pesach and Shabbat. So I really should be saying both Shabbat Shalom and Chag Sameach. The seventh day of Pesach also being a Chag, observed as a holiday. And so today our Torah reading, rather than being on our weekly Torah portion cycle, is actually a piece selected specifically for the seventh day of Passover. Regardless of what day of the week the seventh day of Passover might fall on any given year. So we are going to be reading a little bit again from the Parsha Beshalach, which we read about 2 months ago, maybe a little bit more than that, in our regular cycle. But this one is chosen for Passover because this is the actual parting of the sea and the splitting of the waters and actually heading out into freedom, as it were, is for our Israelite ancestors. So we're going to look at that in a few minutes, but for now, Shabbat Shalom and Chag Sameach to the seagulls. Shabbat Shalom to James Broth. Good morning. I see I've got a few with us so far. And as usual, if you'd like to follow along with me in our Torah text, you can go to bez613.org and go to the virtual Shabbat resources and scroll down and hit the Etz Chaim link next to Torah Talk. Under the resources, and you will get the Etz Chaim PDF for this reading, for the Passover and Shabbat reading. So if you want to go grab that, if you have a physical Etz Chaim, you can use that with as well, or any other Chumash texts that you want to have handy will be in the book of Exodus again today. Shabbat Shalom. Good morning to Alan Hamburger. Chag Sameach, and let's go ahead and get started. So I will be on page 404 of the Etz Chaim Chumash, whether you're looking at a physical copy or a PDF. And if you're using any other edition of the Chumash, let's go to Exodus chapter 14. I'm going to look at verses 21 and 22. I'm actually going to stray quite a ways from the text, but these will be our foundational verses of what we're looking at. And these verses describe the very moment of the splitting of the sea. Shabbat Shalom, Chag Sameach. Good morning, welcome, Marty Liv. Yes, I'm a little bit early because we do have Tat Shabbat at 9:30, but I hope folks that are used to joining at 9:30. I'm glad some of you have caught me now, and I hope folks used to joining me at 9:30 will be able to watch the video then too. So we are in Exodus chapter 14, verses 21 and 22, the very moments of the splitting of the sea. So the Israelites have fled Egypt. We have passed the moment that I spoke about last week when they have they put the blood on the doors and God passed over them, getting themselves ready for freedom. And now we're at the moment that they get to the water and it's about to split. Then Moses put his arm out over the sea, and God drove back the sea with a strong east wind all that night and turned the sea into dry ground. The waters were split, and the Israelites went into the sea on dry ground, the waters forming a wall for them, to their right and to their left. Vayavo'u b'nei Yisrael b'toch hayam bayabasha v'hamayim lahem choma miminam u'mismolam. I want to look at that word choma, or wall, for a moment. I want us to try to picture it. Imagine. So we're at the sea. There's this wind from God that has come through and allowed these waters to split and stand to either side and create a wall. I want us to imagine for a moment, what might that wall have looked like? Was it opaque? Was it not opaque? Was it reflective? Was it clear? Was it solid? If you touched it, did it feel like just hard and dry, or was it wet? The Torah doesn't tell us. It just says that it's a wall. So I want us to think a moment. I want to take a journey a little bit to one of my favorite midrashic characters, She only appears in the Torah twice, but because she appears in the Torah twice at very distant points from one another, she takes on an incredible role in the Midrash, in the rabbinic literature and legends, kind of trying to fill in some of the questions about the Torah. And her name is Serach, like Sarah, but with the chet at the end. Serach, Bat Asher. She's the daughter of Asher, one of the 12 sons of Jacob, one of Joseph's older brothers. She first appears in Genesis 46, toward the end of the book of Genesis, as amongst the grandchildren who went down to Egypt to meet with Jacob to meet Joseph. And then she reappears in the book of Numbers when we see one of the census taking endeavors of the various tribes. And she is just sort of still listed there amongst the tribe of Asher, which is centuries later. And so the rabbis of the later years and of the Midrash are looking at this going, how is it possible that this same child, this same little girl, or maybe not so little girl, is seen in the book of Genesis with her grandfather meeting her uncle in Egypt when Joseph was there, and centuries later still in this census? And so the midrashic read is that she must have been gifted with a certain level of immortality or of extreme longevity. And they say that she did this because she was actually, the midrash says she was the one who told Jacob that his son, Midrash says that she told him gently and with song, and so God gave her the gift of living forever, or living for a very long time. And a midrash about her pops up again in the preparation for the moment that we're looking at right now, where she tells Moses where Joseph had been buried when the Pharaoh didn't even remember who Joseph had been and all he had done for the Egyptian people that landed us staying in Egypt as long as the Israelites did. It said that she was the one who knew where he was buried so that Moses could take the bones of Joseph with the people. And then she pops up in the Midrash, in Pesikta de Rav Kahana, one of our Midrashic texts, where Rabbi Yochanan is sitting in the Beit Midrash and he is discussing the very verse about the Red Sea that we just looked at. The waters forming a wall on their right and on their left. Rabbi Yochanan has the same question that I posed. What did these walls look like? And Rabbi Yochanan suggests that they were like lattice work, that they were a net kind of woven, holding the waters back. If you touch, you could probably get to water in between, but it was some kind of net lattice work barrier that was holding the waters back. And Serach Bat Asher is somehow in this study hall with him many, many years later, because we're now looking at millennia later rather than just centuries later. And she's angry with Rabbi Yochanan and says, I was there. I know what those walls looked like. They were shining windows. Some translations suggest that they were mirrors. They were solid, but they were reflective. You could sort of see through them and also see back to yourself and see what did you yourself look like at the moment of freedom. And I think that that is such a powerful image. I also love that she is given the role of memory keeper. She is simultaneously encouraging at the moment of freedom, we are looking at shining, reflective, glassy walls, because we both have to see what is happening as we get toward freedom and see ourselves in it, and we have to remember it and hold on to it. I think I have said before, I feel like right now, as the vaccinations of getting us out of the year of pandemic that we have been experiencing are allowing us to start imagining a new normal and returning to gatherings with our families. As of this week, everyone over the age of 16 in Indiana is able to go get a vaccine if they want it. I think that it feels like we're at this moment, that we're standing at these split waters. And so we should take a moment to look at the glassy walls that this midrashic foremother, Sarah Bat Asher, is telling us to look at. Look at ourselves. What have we experienced as we've come out of this hard place and are heading toward freedom? What are we holding? What are we remembering? And then recognizing that she, Sarah, is a memory keeper. She remembered where Joseph was, and she remembered what these walls looked like, and she was given this longevity in order to be a communal memory keeper. I think much of how we practice Passover, from the start of the Seders all the way until now at the end of the holiday, we are living memory. The tastes and the smells on the Seder plate, the sounds of the song of the sea that we'll hear, that you'll hear when you join Cantor Melissa later on. These are pieces of memory that we are holding on to. We're experiencing memories of our ancestors. So as I would encourage us also to look into the mirrors of these walls as we walk toward freedom and say, what are we? Where are we? What have we learned? And do the backwards reflection for ourselves, and then also figure out what it is we want to do to hold on to the memories of what we have experienced in the last year. What lessons have we learned? What trials have we faced and either overcome or are still working through? What joys have we managed to experience? What have we learned about our own individual and communal resilience? I want us to think about ways to hold on to those memories so that later generations, when we speak to them of this time, might have an opportunity to imagine as though they themselves were really there. We don't have Sarah Bat Asher still popping up for us anymore to share what her memories were. But we do have lots of ways in our traditions, and throughout our tradition, where we insert memory and we hold on to memory. So as we move toward exiting Passover, toward the end of Pesach, I hope that we can take a moment to reflect and say, how do we want to preserve this time? What memories do we want to hold on to? And what memories are we carrying for ourselves that will allow us to look at our own lives a little differently as we pass through the parted waters and into our future? Shabbat Shalom, Chag Sameach. Thank you so much for joining me. Say good morning also to Cheryl Toft, to Alex Binder, and to Michael Kahn. So glad you also caught me a little bit early. And say Shabbat Shalom, Chag Sameach. Please join our live stream at 10 o'clock on the BAZ website. We are back on the live stream on Zoom this morning. So you will catch Rabbi Dennis and Cantor Melissa with our 10 a.m. service. And if you have any little friends, any friends under the age of 4, send them my way. Our Zoom link is on the website at 9:30 for a fun-filled, song-filled Passover Tat Shabbat. Thank you so much, and Shabbat Shalom. I look forward, Shabbat Shalom and Chag Sameach. I look forward to our reuniting, our freedom that is on the way. We're not quite at the land yet, but we are taking those first steps through the parted waters. So I'll say Shabbat Shalom, Chag Sameach, and I will see you soon.